What's up, Stokers? Before we begin this podcast, I want to let you know that we will be at the Hollywood Improv this Wednesday, September 15th at 8 p.m. We've got Eliza Schlesinger on the lineup. We got Dom Herrera. We got Strider, of course. And then Annie Letterman. And then I think we'll probably have one more comic. So check it out. Go to hollywoodimprov.com. Locals only with Chad and JT. It's going to be a banger. I just ate a bunch of crackers, so that's why I'm all fucking... whatever. Come check out the show. 8 p.m. September 15th, Hollywood Improv. If you're in SoCal, what up? We're also brought to you by the legends at Manscape. Manscape, thank you so much for keeping our trims pewed, for looking after our hogs, for making sure that our dinks are looking fresh and clean, because autumn is in the air. The pumpkins are in the patch. And our friends at Manscaped are here to make sure you don't carve your pants pumpkins when you're grooming, if you know what I'm saying. So boys, get ready for a cuffing season like no other, ready to take the leap in the fall with Manscaped. Join the 2 million men worldwide using Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code GODEEP. We are also brought to you by the legends at Draftkings. Ooh, football is here, baby. And you know Draftkings is the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. And now is the time to get in on the action. Download the Draftkings app and enter code DEEP. This week, new customers get a free shot at the $1 million top prize and compete for millions in prizes across all contests. Minimum of $5 deposit required. That's code DEEP on the DraftKings app for a free shot at $1 million bones. Guys, good stuff all around. Let's start the show.
What's with deep? Going deep. Chad and JT.
Sounds crisp.
Look at that.
Are we rolling?
That's some high-priced equipment you have here.
Hell yeah. Shout out to Julie. Julie got this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Julie got all. Shout out to Julie. What up? And yeah, let's saddle it up and ride. Keep on rolling, baby.
Clearly, there's some money in city council meetings if you get equipment like this.
Yeah. Well, there's no
Thanks,
production
Mom.
value,
Yeah.
so we just, all the money we would have used to shoot those, we put into the studio.
Yeah.
But what's up, Stokers of Stoke Nation? This is Chad Kroger coming in with the Going Deep with Chad and JT podcast. I'm here with my compadre, Jean Thomas. What up?
Boom clap, Stokers.
And today we're joined by our guest. We've only known you virtually until now, but we've been on your show a couple times on Fox. Elex Michaelson, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, stoked to talk to you.
Stoked to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for taking time out of your day. You've been busy, huh?
It's been a crazy time. We're in the middle of the California recall coverage. For people that may not know, I host a statewide political show talking about California politics. So this has been like the Super Bowl and then some. Recently.
When did you realize it was going to get to this point, that there was going to be a recall?
Well, about a year ago, they were trying for a recall. A lot of people thought it could never happen. If you think back to the beginning of the pandemic, April 2020, Governor Newsom was the first person to lock down a state in the whole country. Mm-hmm. His approval ratings were close to 80%. He was the most popular governor in the country.
Wow.
And then...
Him and Cuomo.
Yeah, him and Cuomo. The phrase that has aged the worst over the last year is Cuomo-sexual.
Right. Yeah. I didn't like it from the get-go.
Yeah. Not so good now. You don't hear a lot of people talking about being a Cuomo-sexual these days.
Yeah, no. I remember Trevor Noah coming out with that, and then around the time when he resigned, Cuomo, he's like, he made some joke about it, and everyone's like, well, what about a year ago? When you were just
Right.
when you're the proclaimed Cuomo-sexual.
Fair weather fan. He stick with him through thick and thin. No way.
Yeah.
That's loyalty. So then, the lockdowns started to get tiresome for some people. A lot of people were frustrated. A lot of people on the right were frustrated. Mm-hmm. We had a moment where, I was actually sent these pictures of the French Laundry dinner after that story had broken in the San Francisco Chronicle and nobody had seen images of it. Governor Newsom had said, I was outside, I stopped by a table for a little bit, and then, I probably shouldn't have been there.
Which were all
and
lies,
then we saw the pictures, and he was inside.
Yeah.
It was a big table and a lot of people. And at first I didn't think that it was real.
Yeah.
Because I thought there's no way, because this is not how he described it. And then we were able to verify it with his team and talk to the person that took the pictures and that were there with him that night. And it was, that turned into a thing. I mean, the week before that, 50,000 people had signed the recall signature. 50,000 people had signed the petition for the recall. The week after, it had been to 500,000. So that really became the image that got people fired up to try to recall him. It kind of became an image of everything that he didn't want to be. And then it's taken off. And so it has looked, at points that he could potentially be recalled. Right now, things seem to be going in his direction.
Right.
And how many?
Fireable offense, going to restaurants once.
Well, I think it spoke to the
It's
elites.
bad. Yeah, it looks
spoke
bad.
to the elites' hypocrisy.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But
How many signatures are they at now?
So they got a total of 1.7 million signatures.
Okay.
That qualified it for the ballot. They needed to get 1.5 million.
Okay.
And so now comes the election.
Yeah.
So they sent out ballots to all 22 million registered voters in California, and millions of them have already been sent back. And the last day to send back a ballot or vote in person is September 14th, which is
Right.
less than a week away from when we're recording this.
This will come out the day before.
Okay.
How do they get the signatures? Who pays for that?
Well, so a lot of that money was the RNC and other Republican groups paid for it, and a lot of it was volunteers. I mean, there were thousands of people that volunteered to stand in, a grocery store parking lot on the weekend and ask you to sign the
But they
signature.
sensed weakness there, and they were like, "All right, this is the time. Let's push some cash into this and see if we can get all these fired."
I mean, it's a
people to put their name
combination.
down."
I mean, to get that many signatures, it's a combination of a lot of different people. Some of it is, national corporate interests, and some of it are people that are genuinely just upset about what's happening in the government and want to have their say that way.
Yeah, I remember we shoot in Huntington Beach a lot, and there are always those tents set up by the pier, the recall, and you kind of just, it's sort of like you just figured that they're there all the time, and you never, whenever I would see them, I never thought that it would really take off. I just thought it was sort of a small subset of Californians, but then it just sort of blew up.
It blew
Yeah.
up, and
Yeah.
and so now the question is, is that representative of where the actual state is? Because the reality is there are twice as many Democrats in California as there are Republicans. So in order to win, they either need Democrats to not vote or switch. It's just a math game.
They did,
And
they did it with Gray Davis, right, and Arnold.
Right. So back then there were fewer Democrats. I mean, there were more Republicans back then.
Oh, interesting.
But then they also had a figure who was bigger than politics, bigger than life, right? I mean, literally, I know you guys are fans, right?
Oh, yeah.
I was there when he got. I was at his not like inauguration party, but his election night party.
You were with like Tom Arnold and the whole thing. What was that? What was that? I just
I
talked
love
to
picking Tom Arnold, dude. He's the best.
I
man.
I interviewed Tom Arnold about that like recently. What was it like? So this is 2003. Arnold Schwarzenegger wins. It's the only recall in California history. Maria Shriver, Tom Arnold, Jay Leno there, and you.
and me. I was pretty pumped.
Yeah.
Initially, I was like, because I was a pretty big Republican when I was 14 or 15. But I was starting to go the other way. I guess I was
You're a Republican when you were 14 or 15?
I was like a Republican when I was like 11 to 14. Actually, I was such a hardcore Republican when I was like 10.
Yeah.
I really hated Bill Clinton. That
Really?
my dad, who is a Republican, he's like, you got to chill. And he told me to, and he had his friend tell me a story about getting punched at a country club for making a crack about a Republican guy saying he was Bill Clinton, and the guy punched him.
Really?
And so his friend told me that story is like, kind of like a warning to don't become that guy. Yeah, to not become that
So
guy.
what was that night like?
It was festive. I mean, everybody was just going off. It was just a lot of celebrating. And I think this one reads as more weird to me, not because of any of the factors, but I think when I was like that age, I was like, oh, governor's getting booted and new guys coming in. I was like, that's no big deal. But now as like an adult, I kind of crave stability more, especially my politics. So I was like, now I'm like, this is kind of cuckoo, but I guess it just happens.
I mean, they tried to use the same phrase, Republican recall, back in 2003, but there were two things that happened then that we don't have now. One, a Democrat, high-profile Democrat, ran on the replacement ballot, which was Cruz Bustamante, who was the lieutenant governor. So he gave Democrats another option of where to vote. And Arnold Schwarzenegger was the biggest movie star in the world, who was married to Maria Shriver, who was a member of the Kennedy family, had a bunch of Democratic advisors and other sort of mainstream Republican advisors. And so that narrative of this is just a Republican recall didn't really work in 2003, but it may work in 2021.
Right.
There was also a major power crisis before that. Is my mic on?
Oh yeah, the rolling blackouts and shit.
Yeah, and we voted stupidly to deregulate the power industry right before that. Which is what caused companies to be able to gouge us in the first
And when you
place.
watch
Enron and all the rest of that
Yeah.
was happening. And remember, I mean, I remember being in school, don't you? And then the lights would just go off,
Yeah.
like in math
Yeah.
class. All
It
of a
was
sudden, it's
nuts.
dark.
Yeah.
That Enron doc was crazy when you hear their traders like stealing energy from California and waiting for the prices to go
Really?
up. And then there's fires, which was going to boost the prices more. And they have recordings of Enron energy trade people going, "Burn, baby, burn."
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty sadistic.
Yeah.
Have you? Go ahead.
I just quick question. Are recalls unique to California, or are all states able to do this?
So different states have different rules in place. California has the most liberal recall policies, meaning it's easier to recall somebody in California than in any other state. These were policies put in place in 1911 by a governor called Hiram Johnson. It was these progressive things to try to keep people accountable.
Yeah.
And one of the questions is it too easy?
Right.
Governor Newsom has certainly hinted at the fact that if he survives this, that he would want to try to change the rules for future governors, not him, but future governors, so that there's a higher threshold and make it, harder to do this.
Right.
Part of the reason that they were able to do it this time, and you got to get 12.5% of last time's electorate to sign a recall petition. And a judge gave them 4 extra months because of the pandemic to get the signatures. So if they didn't have that 4 extra months, they probably wouldn't have gotten the signatures,
Right.
and that we wouldn't have this at all. So we'll see if there are changes in terms of recall going forward.
Interesting.
Do we have term limits for governor?
We do.
And this is his second term?
So this is his first term. He's only 2.5 years into it.
Yeah.
So there's another election next year.
Next November, yeah.
So there'd be a primary in June and a general election next November. So all these same people could end up running again. And we could be doing this whole thing a few months from now. But in that situation, the governor would probably have even more advantages based off of the way that the elections work.
Right.
So you get 2 terms as California governor, which was put in place after Jerry Brown had already been governor. So because of that, he was grandfathered. So Jerry Brown, our last governor, had 4 terms as governor.
Yeah, because he was the
separate.
governor in the 70s, and then
Yeah, he was governor at 36 and he left office at 80. So he had a big gap in between,
Yeah.
but how crazy to, think of that. And
And
basically around our age to be the governor of California.
And some people suspect he was doing like a Reagan thing in his last term, where he was kind of just like the governor in name, but it was actually his staff was running the state, because he wasn't around, right? Like people never saw him or did interviews with him or anything.
I don't know anybody that thinks that he wasn't like Reagan, meaning Reagan in his last term had Alzheimer's and was kind of
Right.
out of it.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
As somebody who's talked to Jerry Brown frequently, including recently, he is one of the sharpest people I've ever talked to in any situation. So I don't think that is true.
I might have seen that on a weird website.
I think he was very, very much in control. He's one of the smartest people ever in terms of thinking. I mean, Gavin Newsom described him once to me as, when everybody's playing checkers, he's playing 3-dimensional chess, and that is kind of the way Jerry Brown's mind works.
What have you talked to Gavin Newsom?
Many times, yeah.
And so
He's been our guest on our political show, The Issue Is, more than anybody else.
have you seen like how the stress has been? I mean, he must always be
totally.
stressed out, but has it mounted? Has it gone up?
Yeah, so I mean, it was really interesting because I talked to him about a month apart from each other. So the most relaxed he's ever been and the happiest I've ever seen him was on June 15th and June 16th. So June 15th in California is the date that he had set aside to reopen the state, right? So the masks are coming off. the restaurant restrictions, everything was opening up, come back to 100%. He had done this game show, which was he did this thing to try to incentivize people to get vaccines. So he was giving away $1 million to like 10 people, or $1.5 million, and he was pulling like balls out of a lottery thing, and he did this event at Universal Studios where he came out. I don't know if you saw this. He came out with trolls and minions and cartoon characters, and then hosted a game show where they pulled out these lottery balls, and he was so happy because he was like, I'm through this thing, I've survived, the positivity rate was low, the economic forecast was amazing, he had a $76 billion surplus, the recall poll results were terrible, he was so good. The next day we were at Six Flags Magic Mountain, which was giving away tickets for people that would get vaccinated. And he was in such a good mood. He's like, hey, do you want to come ride the roller coaster with us? I think it'd be funny to see a guy in a suit in a roller coaster. Like, really? His staff was like, really? I thought he's like, no, really, come on.
Yeah.
And so we rode Revolution together.
Oh, hell yeah. It's a good coaster.
Is it a good one?
Is that the 3D
Original.
one? Or
No,
virtual
this is Revolution is from 1976.
Right. Okay,
it's the first loop in the country. So there's just one loop.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was literally the metaphor of being on a roller coaster with him was like the perfect metaphor.
Yeah.
And then after that, things started going in the wrong direction. Then Delta variant comes in.
Yeah.
And the masks go back on, and restrictions start coming back, and his whole theme of roaring back and California's going forward and the recall looks ridiculous went away, to the point where we started seeing polls that showed the thing as basically even.
Yeah.
And Larry Elder, and so I saw him a few weeks back, maybe 2 or 3 weeks back, sort of at the worst moment with those polls, and he was really nervous. And you could tell the total change in his body language. You could tell he was pissed that he had to even face this recall. He thinks the whole thing is unnecessary, that it's distracting him at the moment when he's got to deal with COVID and he's got to deal with fires in the state and everything else. He's having to do this. And then in the last week, I saw him this past weekend with Elizabeth Warren when the poll numbers look like they're opening up. The ballots are coming back, mostly Democratic. You can tell he's back in his sort of swagger and feeling pretty good. And I think he and his staff hope for an ability to sort of dunk on this recall and make them
so it'll be a
look
good
bad.
testament to like confidence in him.
Look, if he wins big, and we'll see if he does, basically he's won next year too.
Yeah.
Because he makes next year's election look irrelevant, right? I mean, it looks like a total waste. It looks like they shot their shot and they got rejected, and so he could just go barreling ahead.
And people will be fatigued. They'll be like, I don't want to go through this.
Enough of this. You did it. We already heard from you. You know, so it'll be interesting next year if the governor wins. You know, is there somebody new that comes out? Because it's going to be hard if you're the recall candidate who didn't, poll well last year to make an argument you're the best candidate. And so one of the things he's done, there's 2 questions on the recall ballot. One is, should he be recalled? Number 2 is, if 50% say he should be recalled, who should replace him? Newsom's argument has been, don't vote for question 2. Leave it blank. Other people have said that's absurd. If he loses, we end up with the most extreme Republican in that scenario, which they think is Larry Elder.
Why would he say don't vote on 2?
Well, so I mean, it's politics, right? So he's suggesting, one, that if you start thinking, well, that person's not that bad, then maybe you start thinking, the recall's not that bad.
Right.
So you don't even think about them. And who it really hurts, the person it hurts the most probably, is a guy named Kevin Faulconer, who's the former mayor of San Diego. Pretty moderate Republican. I mean, he was a Trump supporter, but speaks Spanish, pro-immigration reform, says climate change is real, is pro-choice. I mean, he's the kind of guy, if you were to design a Republican in a lab of this is the kind of guy that could win in California, that's him. But if no Democrats are voting on that second question, none of them are voting for him, and he ends up with like 4 or 5% on that second question, all of a sudden he looks super weak. And next year, it's easier for Larry Elder to win in that election, and Newsom would much rather be up against Larry Elder than against Kevin Faulconer.
Yeah, and
so that's some 3D chess.
Yeah, and how do I close this?
Oh, it is closed.
That's closed. Maybe we close that door. Sorry, Aaron.
No, it's okay.
We don't normally do these in the morning, so we haven't really had this problem. This is the earliest I've ever podcasted.
When do you usually podcast?
5 o'clock on Mondays.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, thanks for making a special exception.
Bro, we moved mountains.
Move
for
mountains.
Yeah. Wait. So basically, if at this point, if Newsom is recalled, Larry Elder's kind of the top contender, right?
That's what he says, and that's every poll, every indication is that it most likely would be Larry Elder. The big question is, do Democrats follow Newsom's advice and don't vote on question 2, or do some of them start to vote on somebody else that they think would be? I mean, there was a San Francisco Chronicle article about where the columnist interviewed insiders who are all Democratic strategists, and almost all of them said that they were voting for Kevin Faulconer. And one of the quotes was, "Well, we really, really don't want him to be governor, but at least he's not insane."
Right.
Have you talked to Larry Elder?
Yes.
Is
many
he
times. I've talked to all of them. Is he insane?
I'm kidding. That's kind of a leading question. What's Larry Elder like?
He seems very exciting and charismatic.
Yeah, I mean, he's a broadcaster. So, he's been doing this for 30 years. So he's good at being on TV. He's good at talking to an audience. And his whole thing, he describes it as Joe and Joan's six-pack, which is talking to people in kind of a simple way and not really getting into the political weeds. Like Trump, he's not a big believer in political correctness. He hasn't had years having to, say on the one hand and on the other hand and try to do all that. He just sort of sticks to his guns. He's been kind of Trumpy in the fact that the stuff that he said that was super controversial, he doesn't apologize for any of it. He just backs up all of it. And so there is like a certain id about him that I think strikes to a certain part of the political mood right now. I mean, if you're in favor of the recall, a big reason that you're in favor of the recall is because you want to give a giant middle finger to the establishment and giant middle finger to California. And Larry Elder, like Donald Trump, represents fuck you.
Yeah.
Right? Fuck you guys and all that you've done, and you guys think you're so smart, and you guys have your corrupt deals, and we want somebody who's outside of that system who's going to come in and mess it up. And also I think there's part of them that says these guys have been so bad, wouldn't it be interesting if all of a sudden Larry Elder was in charge, and see what that would look like. Now, of course, there are people on the left and a lot of people in the center that said that didn't work out so well for the country, but there are a lot of people on the right that think it did.
Yeah, I watched some interviews with him, and I can feel how he could be attractive to people because he has that sort of Trumpian kind of like, flair, I guess. But do you think the left do you think there's a possibility for like a Democratic candidate to come along who has that same kind of Trumpian kind of charisma? Is it possible for a liberal to have that same kind of like fiery,
bluster?
As like Trump or Larry Elder?
Bloviating?
Well, there's an argument, and not to compare them in terms of policy, but there is something similar between Trump and like Bernie Sanders.
Right, yeah.
Right? And obviously they're so different in what they believe in and how they would be but Bernie Sanders also represented fuck you.
It's anti-establishment,
right?
And they both read as very authentic.
And
too.
they read so they connect in a populist way, especially to a lot of older white people.
Yeah.
In a way that and they also feel to their supporters, and I spent a lot of time at Trump rallies, spent a lot of time at Sanders rallies and Hillary Clinton rallies and there weren't really a lot of Joe Biden rallies because of the pandemic, but there is this feeling among Sanders voters and Trump voters that this person is uniquely fighting for me.
Right.
That he understands me, that I've been left behind by a corrupt elitist system that in their view, dines at the French Laundry.
Yeah.
A place that they could never get into.
It takes like years to get a reservation.
Right. And so there's something about getting in there. Have you been?
I was pretending like I had, basically. Yeah.
I just love the idea that a guy like Trump, who lives in a gold tower, represents.
Yeah,
Joe
literally
Sixpack.
shits on golden toilets.
Yeah.
But he didn't. I think because he grew up around the rich, Trump's like uniquely. Well, they all pretty much. A lot of them come from money. I assume Newsom probably comes from money, right?
So Newsom is like an interesting combo, right? So his mom was mostly a single mom, didn't have a lot of money. He had foster siblings, including a black foster brother that lived with them. So he lived in that world. But then his dad was this super powerful and influential judge who was really tight with the Getty family.
Oh, wow.
And all that money. And then also his dad had been appointed a judge by Jerry Brown when he was governor the first time around. So he went back and forth in his life between his like sort of wealthy father and then his mother's world, which was different.
He had that double consciousness.
Yeah. And so he comes from both worlds, but he's definitely been helped politically by his connections to the Getty family over the years.
Who have a
as well.
sordid history.
Yeah. And so
Like the one kid died and they kind of covered it up, and then the one kid got kidnapped and the big Getty guy refused to pay, right?
Right.
And they sent him like the kid's ear.
Oh shit!
Or a finger. Or
That's
something.
it is a crazy story. So Newsom's start, he comes from the wine and beverage world.
Mm-hmm.
He had a
Big in California.
Yeah, he had I think a restaurant, and there were some weird regulations about how he needed a sink in order to serve stuff or anything. He got sort of frustrated by the regulations. He complained about it to the mayor of San Francisco at the time, Willie Brown, and he said, "Well, why don't you go on, this board and work on it yourself?" And he ended up doing that, and he was elected mayor of San Francisco at a super young age. But that's his business is that world, and it's called Plumpjack Winery, which he started with the Getty family as a co-founder, and he's got all these different restaurants and wineries up around California.
The Gettys also helped start ESPN, so I'll
sick.
forever be indebted to them.
Nice. And
Yeah, you're
images.
reading an ESPN book, right?
I finished it.
How is it?
It was great, but I'll say this about oral histories. Once you get to like more contemporary times, they always get boring because no one wants to talk shit on people that they're still working with. So when you're reading an oral history and it's like the 80s, everyone's like, that guy was a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Right.
But once you get to like the 2000s, they're always like, no, he's great. Yeah.
So if they did a thing about the two of you, you would say great things now, but check back in 15 years, I'm getting all the shit about
you'll
how
get the
Chad
real
is the
juicy
worst.
stuff. Actually, I don't think ours would change much, but yeah.
I mean, I'm writing
Maybe.
the book, not these guys.
Yeah, yeah, right. You're gonna talk to Aaron. He'll give you the straight
He
scoop.
sent me Fred Durst gifts every day.
Yeah, I'm too in it to even see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh, and Getty provides images too. They're
Yeah.
legends. Has Newsom ever confided in you? He's just like, bro, like the timing of my governorship, fucking bro, dude, this sucks. Is he ever like? I don't know.
Every once in a while, you get like a little bit of a moment sometimes where he looks at you. I mean, I've interviewed him a lot. I think I've interviewed him more than anybody in the state.
Yeah.
So we've kind of been there for the journey up and down. Our first, our show, The Issue Is, our first guest on our first episode was Gavin Newsom running for governor.
Oh, cool.
So it's been we've literally been on a ride together.
Yeah.
In the roller coaster. Yeah. But yeah, you look at to your point though, look at the last couple years that he's had, right?
Yeah.
And Jerry Brown made this point to me when I interviewed him, saying that Newsom has had a way harder hand dealt to him than any other governor in California history.
Right.
I mean, record fires, record pandemic, record unemployment that he had to deal with. All of it.
And he inherited that. That wasn't a result of his policies.
Which?
The unemployment. Or the unemployment's a result of the pandemic.
The pandemic.
Right.
Yeah. And so dealing with all of those crises at the same time is like unlike anything any governor's ever had to face.
Nice. When people, I get into these conversations all the time with people where it kind of depends what your personality is, but some people are like cynical of all politicians. And they're like, look, if you trust any of those people, you're kind of being an idiot because they're all looking out for themselves. They're all kind of, even if they're on Republican or Democrat, they're all serving the political interests of all of them just keeping money in their pocket and maintaining their power. And then some people are like, no, some of these people actually want to change the world for the better, and like they make mistakes and they get compromised. But overall, I think they're decent people and they're trying to do better. From what you've seen.
So I call that, are you more House of Cards or are you more West Wing?
Yeah. Right. Dude, that's a great way to break it down.
Yeah. So I love the West Wing. in my heart of hearts, I want it to be more West Wing. Honestly, I think that most politicians start out at least in it for the right reasons and want to do good. And that's people on both sides. I think most of the staffers also are trying to do the right thing. I think they're really complicated things that are put on everybody and pressures that maybe change what and determine what people do. But I think on balance, I think people are more good than they are bad. But maybe that's just my hopes.
I'm kind of the same way. Like I'm like, there was a part in the movie Vice where Cheney goes to Rumsfeld and he's like, but we actually believe in this stuff, right? And the Cheney characters or the Rumsfeld character starts laughing. And to me, I was like, oh, Adam McKay is being too cynical. Because even though I think those guys did a lot wrong,
right? I
don't think if you put them on a lie detector, they'd be like, yeah, I'm trying to do bad. I think they would probably pass and be like, no, I think what I'm doing's in the best interest of our country.
Right. And like what you've seen from Liz Cheney now is kind of an indication of that, right? Of doing what she believes because of principle.
What is she doing?
So Liz Cheney is one of the Republicans that spoke out against. Liz Cheney's a congresswoman now from Wyoming, daughter of Dick Cheney. She's one of the people that spoke out against Donald Trump after what happened on January 6th. She voted to impeach him, which was, a politically difficult thing to do. And she's now part of that January 6th commission that's investigating what happened. Her and this guy named Adam Kinzinger are the only Republicans that would agree to do it. And she did it. She lost her position in GOP leadership. She was the third-ranking Republican in the House, and they voted her out because she voted against Donald Trump.
Wow. Do you have a desire to go into politics?
I don't know. Maybe.
That sounds like a yes.
I mean, the honest answer is I don't know.
Yeah.
If the right position and timing, so much of it's about timing. I'm uncomfortable with a lot of the fundraising that's associated with it, which is what leads to a lot of those weird deals. I don't love raising money. I don't like asking people for money.
Yeah.
But if I was in a position where that wasn't as much of a thing, I don't know. I mean, it's hard. In California, there aren't a lot of positions that open up, too.
Yeah.
We just have so many people. It's so much harder to be elected a senator in a state with 40 million people than in a state with 300,000.
Yeah, take that, Wyoming.
Yeah.
We'd start a GoFundMe for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. What Stoke Nation.
He's
Stoke
backed
Party.
by Stoke Nation.
Yeah.
That's pretty huge.
Yeah.
You got to like people, right, to get into politics?
You would hope that you like people to get into politics.
Yeah, I feel like you have to because you just talk to so many.
Right.
I heard George Will say about Richard Nixon, he was ill-suited for it because he hated people. So just all the time, he was like, fuck this shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, some of them are like that. I think Joe Biden, really loves people. And it's sort of an old school politician in that sense, that he would rather work a rope line and spend time with people and really gets off on that. Where I think some of the others, not as much. I think Biden is way more like that than like Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Who's probably happier by himself.
Do all these guys have sort of a noticeable charisma that makes them stand out? Or do you think, like Newsom, for example, when you talk to him, are you sort of like, oh, I can see how you've risen through the ranks? Yeah,
I mean, I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't get, especially when you see him like in person, is in order to get to that level, like you're the governor of California, a state, the fifth largest economy in the world, a state of 40 million people, you rose to that level.
Yeah.
You've got to have a very high level of charisma and be able to work a room.
Yeah.
And all of them. I mean, Republicans too. Like if Larry Elder came in, that you would think that he's a charismatic guy.
Yeah.
I mean, to make that work, like that's a big part of the job. And so most of them, I mean, some of them have more than others. Some of them are more introverted than others. Like a guy like Pete Buttigieg, super smart guy, really nice, but like introverted.
Yeah.
Isn't going to come in, hey guys, what's going on? Where Biden would like slap you and hug you and give you like a kiss because that's who he is. But I think all of them have a certain level of that, or else you don't make it, or else you lose.
Right.
And now that Biden's older, he can't regulate like the the boundaries as well, and so he's always getting roasted for it.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's clearly from another time with all of that. And so I think between COVID and Me Too, he's really had to pull back on his gut instincts a lot.
It's like they took away my special power.
Yeah. It's like he walks around with handcuffs and try to stop him.
You talked to Caitlyn Jenner too.
Yes.
In her run up to going for the governorship. Does she have like a consistent set of politics? Like, or is she kind of how would you evaluate her just as a political personality?
Well, I think she's clearly was new to this and hadn't done it before. I think she generally believes that there's too much regulation and that California has been unfriendly to business. I think she watches a lot of Fox News clearly and like sort of talks a lot of the talking points. Has she put in the work that other people have put in terms of studying the issues in a really complicated state in a nuanced way? I think the answer to that is probably no. So
And she has an interesting kind of a lot of her politics don't square with what we would normally think about someone's ideology, right?
Well, I mean,
she zigs and zags a little bit.
Less than you would think. I think that the challenge, of course, is her identity.
I guess that's what it is.
Who is the base voter for Caitlyn Jenner? And you've seen polls showing her at around 1%. Because we know that the Republican Party has not been especially open to trans rights. Most people in the party. I mean, obviously there are exceptions to that. And then we know that Democrats have not been especially open to conservatives. So it's like, who is the pro-trans Republican, let's deregulate business person? There isn't a lot of that. And
I love that we have that though.
Yeah.
I don't want her to be governor, but I'm glad we live in a country where you have that freedom of choice on so many different fronts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Although she's not she believes in Texas's ability to choose their own rules.
That's what I'm saying.
Including the right to not, or to,
Wasn't she against
abortion.
gay marriage too?
She was for a while. Yeah. So she's a complicated, she's kind of hard to follow on a.
Do you think Kim Kardashian will vote for her or not the way that she wouldn't vote for Kanye?
Well, it's interesting that they, so she made a point of the fact that none of her kids were going to be a part of her campaign, but there has not been a single endorsement, a single mention from any of her kids or stepkids. And you think about the political power that they would have if they did get involved, right? And the amount of attention they could get. So then you wonder whether they are in favor of this or not. I mean, she said that it was harder coming out as a Republican than it was coming out as trans.
I wrote a sketch about that.
Don't think that's true.
I wrote a sketch similar to that.
Funny.
That's
It's good.
Have you interviewed any of the crackpot candidates? Like have you interviewed Angeline?
I have not interviewed Angeline.
Or I know I was looking at all the candidates because I was looking for someone to mark. I voted
Question
no,
two.
but
Right.
question 2, who do I? And there's a guy who's he's a civil rights attorney. So I was like, okay, let's see what he has to say. His bio in the booklet that they give you just says "love you." So
It's a message I
not
can get
that.
I remember
Simple messaging. Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
but not effective.
I remember in the 2003 Gary Coleman was running. Is
Yeah.
that right? And then there was
I voted for Gallagher. I said
Gallagher?
no, and then voted for Gallagher. as
Yeah.
my
was he
second
running?
choice. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and there was
Is it-
Mary Carey, the porn star.
That's right, Mary Carey. I was
Yeah.
like, is it Anna Cole? It was Mary Carey.
Larry Flint ran.
That's right.
And Ariana Huffington ran.
Yeah.
So it was a much more interesting cast of characters back then.
Yeah.
Mary Carey had said she was going to run, but I think part of it was you had to submit financial disclosures, and I don't think she wanted to do that.
right.
Yeah,
How
that was
did
cra-
Angeline get through that?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Do you have broadcast? Who's your broadcasting influence?
Oh, I mean, a lot of different people over the years. I think my favorite in the political space was Tim Russert.
Oh,
who used
sure.
to host
Cool.
Meet the Press, and
Yeah.
I got to intern at NBC in Washington and spend some time with him right before he died.
Why did
Wow.
people trust him so much?
I think he was, a straight shooter. I think he was really fair and respectful to people. He clearly did his homework. And ultimately, it's like treating people with respect and respecting their intelligence, right? I mean, that's something I try to do, is even if you disagree with somebody personally, it is like giving them a platform and giving them a voice where they feel like you're not taking unnecessary pot shots and gotcha. I mean, I think most people in politics are aware that there are going to be tough stories, that the press isn't always going to be nice, that they got to answer tough questions if they're going to put themselves in that position. But they don't want it to be from like a mean-spirited place of, we're out to get you, F you, it's unfair. And I think if you are basically fair to people, for the most part, they'll respect you.
Yeah, and you keep it pretty objective, it seems like, or impartial when you're doing your interviews. Was that kind of a reaction to so much of media going the other direction, becoming more overtly?
I don't think it was. I think it's just who I am and what I was going to do anyways. But I think it certainly feels different if you watch that show compared to the way that other people are doing it. And I think people prefer coming on a show like that.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you feel about COVID these days? Where do you think do you think we're headed for a tough winter, or do you think, I mean, I guess it's all unpredictable, but do you think the Delta variant is sort of the last sort of surge?
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, it gets back to, people's decision not to get, I mean, we're in a race against time, right? And the question is, are we going to be able to get enough people vaccinated in time, or is there going to be enough natural immunity in time for this thing to sort of die out? And if we don't, the dreaded scenario is that a new variant of COVID is resistant to vaccines, and then we start this whole thing over again.
Yeah.
And so will the people of our country step up and get vaccinated because they now have to in order to keep their job or do other things? Or are we going to be doing this again?
Yeah.
And that battle, I think, is where we're at for the foreseeable future.
I'm worried that, like, even if everyone in America did get vaccinated, so many other countries don't have the vaccine,
Right.
that variants will keep evolving in those places, and then those people travel.
Right.
And then so, like, what are the chances we get the whole world simultaneously vaccinated so that no new variants can spring up?
Yeah.
Right.
And then I'm like, that's not possible. And then with the boosters, other countries are like, hey, before you start boostering your whole country, how about share some of the wealth so we can get our country's vaccination rates up? And then I'm like, I'm a selfish person. I'm like, y'all are on your own, dude. I'm like, I'm getting boosted, baby.
Yeah.
And I say that kind of self-deprecatingly because I'm not proud of that part of myself. But it's, I know, I have trouble believing we can get to that point and beating the clock, as you were saying.
Right. Yeah, no, it is crazy, isn't it? How, like, you would be so happy to take a booster.
I would love one.
And yet you can't give away the vaccine to millions of Americans who are just like, nope. And how many more radio hosts that are conservatives who are against the vaccine have to literally die of COVID before some people are like, maybe it is real.
Right. And do you think the vaccines are at a place now where it's sort of like the flu shot, where we are able to evolve? So if a variant like that does come along, that will be so far along in like the vaccine development that we'll be able to sort of counter it?
That's what some of the vaccine makers say that they're doing, and like they are working, say, for like a Delta variant version of this. They seem to think that their current state is fine for the Delta variant, but I mean, there is research into that. But still, I mean, how scary is that? The thought that like, there's a new variant and the vaccine doesn't stop it is pretty scary.
And I understand why people don't want to get it, because it's a little, it makes you nervous that it's just this brand new thing. But I trust scientists. I'm like, look, and all the wealthiest, most powerful people have taken it. So I'm like, they're not like,
they were like rushing to take it.
It's good. Yeah. So that's always a good sign. So do you have like a thesis with what you're doing? Like that you're like, this is what I'm trying to do to move the ball?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not trying to change all of society. I don't think culture. I can. All I can control is what I can control. So part of the reason that, I do the show that I do, which I encourage people to check out, is to try to present other sides, to have a debate with somebody like Tommy Lahren on the right. And then we just had one recently with this other guy, Ethan Bierman, on the left, and they're going at it. I mean, there's people that that listen to Tommy Lahren that probably never hear the other side because they only hear her monologues. So at least they're hearing another argument. They may not agree with it, but at least they're hearing another perspective and have an actual conversation. I don't think there are that many places left where there's an actual conversation. I mean, part of the, old school when we were younger, or our parents, if you read a newspaper, an actual print newspaper, if you're looking for the article, for me, it would be like, let me go to the sports page because that's where I want to go first. But to get to the sports page, I got to look at the front page and maybe look at the B section, which is the California section. And then maybe you're exposed to some stories that you wouldn't naturally choose, but like, oh, that's interesting. Or how about that headline or something else? Now people just have the sports app on their phone and they don't ever see the other stuff. And so how do we sort of get around that? That can be I think it's a huge challenge for our society.
Have you seen people's minds change? Like, have you gotten feedback from people who are like, hey, I actually heard Ethan, I'm sorry, I forget his last name.
Ethan Bierman. I think some people that are more in the middle have said, oh, that was interesting, or I didn't know that, or that made me think about them in a different way. I think also, part of what I try to do with our show, especially the issue is showcase a human side of politicians on both sides, like get to know who people are, talk about their kids, talk about their families, talk about their hobbies, talk about other things, get them off the talking points. And I think people have said to me a lot that they get a better sense of who that person is from that sort of interview than just watching them say the same exact thing over and over again.
Right. That's good. Should we answer some questions?
Hell yeah.
Let's do it.
A question. Who's the most attractive candidate, including Newsom, would you say?
Like physically attractive?
Yeah. Like who's the most striking?
A best looking person you've seen in politics? Is that what you're saying?
No, for California governor.
Oh, for California governor?
Yeah.
Are you suggesting there's somebody more handsome than Governor Newsom?
I was just wondering, yeah. I was like, I don't know. Because the one thing I like about Newsom is you look at him, you're like, nice, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
John Cox's whole campaign is,
right.
I'm not pretty like Newsom.
Right.
Oh,
Spends
really?
a lot of money on that.
Yeah.
I like pretty boys. I like.
As a pretty boy yourself, is that where you're coming from?
Yeah,
Do
I guess.
You get the hate on him?
Yeah. I'm like, Gavin, I feel you, bro.
Yeah. Your biggest weakness is you're too handsome. I do think that's actually, there's an interesting article that I think was actually pretty spot on Gavin Newsom, having known him, over the years, that Ezra Klein wrote in the New York Times that said that people think that Gavin Newsom is this like pretty boy jock type who's really anti-intellectual. And the reality is he's really kind of an introverted, shy guy who's a policy nerd.
Yeah.
And the other thing is kind of an act that he puts on. And he's really kind of uncomfortable in that space, which is why he makes some of these dumb mistakes like the French Laundry.
Yeah.
But who he really is, I mean, the guy's dyslexic, so it's not that easy for him to read. So he memorizes almost everything.
Right.
So he does his presentations, his speeches. He doesn't use a prompter. He doesn't really even use notes. He does almost everything off the top of his head, including like hours-long budget presentations. So he's actually very different than I think most people think that he is.
That's so interesting too. So the way you're kind of framing it, like when he made that mistake with French Laundry, do you think in his head he was like, I really don't even want to go to this thing, but I kind of got to go to support my buddy? And then, because when I see the photo, I'm like, this asshole, like he's having the time of his life. He's at this fancy restaurant with all his shishi friends. But like maybe in his head on the way there, he was like, oh man, I can't believe I got to go to this dinner. I wish I could cancel, but it's my buddy. I got to go.
Yeah, I don't know. I think at the time also, all of us had, been locked down for so long that the idea of being out for a night was probably fun.
Yeah.
Has he talked to you about it? Do we know much about how... Yeah, I'd love to know more about politicians' states of mind when they make the mistakes that they make. Because that kind of humanizes it for me too. I think I always kind of perceive it in a... Like they're...
Well, it's
like
interesting.
They feel like they're getting one over on us.
I had seen him a week before that at Dodger Stadium, and he was really excited because he was going to go on that night to dinner with his wife for the first time in 6-8 months. And he was so excited to have like a night off from the kids.
Right.
Because he had just been locked down in the house with the kids for like, all that time. And I think he was starting to feel like, okay. I mean, look, everybody's like, well, it was locked down. Like Napa was open at that time. Some counties were locked down, but some counties weren't. Napa was open. The restaurant was open. It wasn't like illegal for him to be there. The knock on it, what was illegal was the idea that it was, he said that it was outdoors, even though it was indoors, but it was okay to be indoors. It was that he was with too many families at one table.
Right.
But
Have you had a moment when you're interviewing someone where you get upset and you have to like kind of contain it? Like, do you ever just want to be like when you're hearing a politician and you disagree with them philosophically, or you think that they're acting in like they're being
bad faith?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you? So what do you do when you get that? You just channel it into a question.
Channel it into a question and try to keep your cool. Yeah. Sometimes
Right.
I get irritated at people though.
And that's probably good television too.
Yeah, those are usually good moments. Yeah. Not great for booking the guest another time.
Right. So in your head, you're like, all right, this is the last time.
Great
I'm
in the
talking to this
moment.
person.
Let's go at it.
Do you find it hard to challenge people on air? You know, like to challenge what they're saying, or do you sort of thrive off that? Would you say?
I think you got to sort of thrive off of that if you're
Yeah.
in this business.
Yeah.
But I think I don't get off on like making somebody look stupid. That's
Right.
that's not fun for me. I think it's a relationship business. It's like, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You know what I
Right.
mean? So you could blow, like I just said, you could blow something up and then nobody ever wants to come on with you.
Yeah.
But I do think that challenging people in a fair way is important and good TV.
Cool.
Yeah, and you probably get to a deeper point where if you can get them comfortable, then you can get them to actually really reveal what they're thinking and who they are.
Right. The best thing is if people feel like they trust you and that they're in a safe space, they will start to volunteer things, right? Like we had this great interview with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it was the first time he sat down with me, and I was like, they were only going to give me 10 minutes, and we were 25 minutes in because it was just going well, and I could tell he was in a good mood. And like I asked him about his son, and then he started talking about watching his son act in this new movie and seeing his son's naked butt on the screen and calling Maria about it and what that was like and how valuable Maria was as a mom and talking about his kids and all that. And it was like, I didn't know he was going to go there. And like, that's what made the Daily Mail and made all these other things, was him like intimate and opening up. And I think he only gave that to me because he was appreciative that I had given him space.
Right.
Just like you guys now with these great advice we're about to give.
Yeah, let's do it.
So
By the
for
way, I just want to say I saw a guy during the height of the pandemic wearing a Recall Newsom shirt at a department store returning stuff to Amazon because that was still open. But he was also wearing a covered California mask, which I thought was really contradictory.
I wonder if he got it for free.
Yeah, of course he did.
Guys, I'm interrupting this podcast to let you know once again that we will be at the Hollywood Improv this Wednesday, September 15th at 8 p.m. Get your tickets now. It's going to be a fire show. HollywoodImprov.com. Locals only with Chad and JT. We're also brought to you by the legends at Manscape. Manscape, thank you so much for keeping our trims peeled, for looking after our hogs, for making sure that our dinks are looking fresh and clean, because the leaders in male grooming are here, and they're here with the brand new 4th generation performance package. What? Yep. It's time to bundle up with the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, weed whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, crop preserver, ball deodorant, crop reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. And I'm also talking about your nuts. The 4th generation trimmer has advanced skin safe technology. It's got 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. Plus, it's waterproof. What? And they got the Weed Whacker, which is a 9,000 RPM motor, 360-degree rotary dual-blade system that just gets your nose hair and stuff, maybe some ear hair if you got some of that. Dude, that's gnarly, and you want to trim that shit up because it's fucking weird. Sorry to curse. But Manscaped is the best. You guys know it. You love it. Make sure, if you're not on the Manscaped train by now, get on it, because this train is a chewing all the way to Pube Town, baby. So get 20% off plus free shipping with the code GODEEP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code GODEEP at manscaped.com. Make your balls a priority this fall, and that rhymes. Choose Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. Finally, we are brought to you by the legends at Draftkings. Guys, it's good to see the teams back out on the gridiron. Lucky for us, that was just week 1. And Draftkings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, is putting you in the center of the action for week 2. New customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit by signing up using code DEEP. So get in on the action now. It's simple. You just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Guys, you already love football, but you're going to love football even more when you got some action in it, baby. You want to get some action in the game. So download the Draftkings app now and use code DEEP. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code DEEP to get a free shot and millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code DEEP, only at Draftkings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. Lastly, we are brought to you by our t-shirts, Helix beer bongs. If you guys want to get on that merch game, if you want to get a nice beer bong, we're heading into fall, but that does not mean you can't still chug. So get a beer bong today, a Helix beer bong at shopcgd.com. All right, back to the show, baby.
All right, first cue, my baby boy, Chad, JT, Aaron. What up?
Nice.
I just had a baby boy and he's an absolute beast. I may be looking too far ahead, but what is the appropriate age to drink a beer with your son? I was raised pretty strict and couldn't drink with my family until I was 21. And in turn, I went absolutely nuts in college because I was clueless to the power of the brewski. Fast forward to now and I'm a dad and I'm freaking fired up over it. And I want to be the best dad, but I just don't know when it would be a good time to whip out a Coors or two. Maybe Fruit Smash, they're our sponsor. I don't know. Love you guys. Yeah, you can take that with you, man.
Oh, okay.
Is he
Should I
saying?
start drinking it now?
Yeah, you want to drink it now?
Okay.
Yeah, pop it open.
Is he saying to drink a beer with his dad? With his son?
Wait, do you hear
Oh,
that
dude, yeah.
sound?
Dude, I love that you're doing this. Let's go.
Sound of Fruit Smash.
Oh, baby. Yeah.
It's just
in the
that-
AM, too.
Wow.
It's just that easy, Joe.
So good.
You got some interviews today?
That's the best hard seltzer I've ever had.
Really?
Oh, for real?
They've got to be a great brand if they're sponsoring you guys.
Oh, that's
Thank you.
good,
Yep.
dude.
Yeah, it's
send you
real
that check
fruit.
later.
You can
Thank
taste it,
you.
right?
You can.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like the other seltzers are kind of like when you drink them, you're kind of like
Synthetic.
Gross.
But it goes down smooth.
Well done. What's the right year?
I think actually my parents let me drink with them. I think they started letting me have like a sip or two when I was like 13 or 14. Kind of
bar mitzvah.
I'm Catholic, but
okay.
but don't worry, a lot of people make that mistake. Kind of the Catholic model, or not Catholic model, sorry, the European model. Like they just introduced me to stuff relatively early and kind of had not a laissez-faire, but like an open-minded approach to it. And I think that actually helped a lot because it kind of demystified a lot of that stuff. And I still don't like the taste of alcohol because I tasted it then and I was like, this tastes like shit.
So do you not drink at all?
I drink a lot, but I just don't like the taste. Although I haven't been drinking the past couple weeks because I pushed it too hard for a little bit.
Just
there.
a ton of mixer.
Yeah.
Margarita guy.
Yeah. Well, in the Jewish faith, you're supposed to have wine at your bar mitzvah.
Ah, okay.
So at 13, you take a swig out of the wine cup. So they get you drinking early.
nice.
But I totally think that's true. Didn't you? I had a friend like that, a buddy that grew up down the street from me, whose parents were super strict and really hard ass on that, and really stopped him from partying in high school. And then he got to college at USC and just like became a crazy person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just didn't. So I think isn't there value in moderation and learning, as compared to just keeping people down?
Well, like it's the Europeans too. They introduced that, it's like a part of your life from an early age, and they have such a more sophisticated, sort of mature approach to drinking. I think, when I lived in Spain, and they're like Americans were so clearly just binge drinking, and the Spaniards were like, take it easy, bro.
Don't they have a more sophisticated approach to eating as well?
Yeah, I think more just a
Smaller
lifestyle.
portions, and it's more of like an experience rather
Yeah.
than like
Right.
a feeding station.
Yeah,
And not as many preservatives.
right.
Well, that's another aspect of COVID, which I don't think gets talked about enough, is the the fitness aspect of it, which we haven't confronted enough as a society.
Dude, I got a real problem with it. Yeah, like when I see posts about people who are, and like I vape, so I don't have perfect health, but like when I see posts where people are like, it's okay to put on like 40 pounds, and no one says 40 pounds, but when people are like, look, if you got big during COVID, it's fine. I'm like, it literally kills big people. I'm
Right.
like, I
I'm
don't
just
know if
saying,
that's
don't hurt yourself about it.
right.
Don't feel bad. Like
No, I think
don't
they
get depressed.
Well, yeah, don't get depressed because that'll keep you from going to the gym.
There you
But
go.
I say,
But you know, it
feel
also
something. Yeah,
helps depression. Exercise.
yeah. We're gonna lose a lot of people here, but I agree with you.
No,
like,
I'm not
Yeah.
saying that in a judgmental way. I mean, I know it's a complicated thing, and weight is not always an indication of health and all the rest of it. But I do think that we could do more as a society to incentivize better choices and make it easier for people to make better choices. I mean, you look at a lot of low-income neighborhoods are food deserts. Why can't we subsidize fresh food and fresh fruits in those neighborhoods so people, it's cheaper to make a better choice? Why can't we use the tax code to help make personal training tax deductible or gym membership tax deductible?
Dude,
Why can't we work with
this is a platform we can get behind, Alex. I mean, I would announce right now if I was you.
why can't we have
Go, baby.
work with our insurance companies on having health metrics to just like if you're a good driver you can get cheaper car insurance. If you're in good physical health, why can't you get better health insurance?
Nice.
All those things I think are not shaming anybody or being mean, and acknowledging that it's a struggle for everybody, including me, who yo-yos all the time. I mean, I put on 20
But you're
pounds
giving people
during
a
COVID.
carrot to chase.
But give people a reward if they're doing the right thing.
Love it.
If you run for
I'm
office,
writing you in. I'm writing you in.
if you run for office, you should give that speech in an ice bath.
Or on a treadmill. I picture
get
him
all-
jogging
yeah.
on a
With Kevin
treadmill.
Hart
Yeah,
launching his ice bath show.
Is he launching an ice bath show?
No, he has a podcast. Have you not seen that?
No.
Kevin Hart sits in ice baths with people.
Oh, really?
And it's like a lot of athletes, but not just athletes.
Yeah.
And he's in an ice bath, and they're in an ice bath, and they have a conversation.
Oh, dude, I would crush that.
Yeah,
You'd be
he
really
needs,
good at
He needs
that.
to have you on.
If you did that, you'd get all of Venice, for sure.
Maybe not the
Yeah, Mayor of
homeless.
Venice. We sometimes talk about going into politics. Mayor of Venice is like a perfect place for you.
Oh yeah, dude.
I mean, there's no mayor. Venice is technically the city of Los Angeles.
Oh, that's right.
So the
we
mayor,
can't do a city council speech.
Yeah.
because of
yeah,
that.
the mayor of Venice is Eric Garcetti.
Oh, nice.
But who knows who it'll be next? It might be Karen Bass.
Is Garcetti? Well, he left, right? Didn't he take some ambassadorship or
He
something
hasn't.
like that?
Well, he hasn't been confirmed yet. So he's going to stay in the job until he's confirmed. And confirming him does not seem to be a giant priority in Congress right now.
And
Sorry, is
anybody.
the vaccine mandate in LA like for businesses still happening? I saw that, but I think I saw something that's saying it wasn't happening anymore.
So there's a negotiation and talks about doing a vaccine mandate for private businesses. Right now, the vaccine mandate for employees of the city of LA is
Right.
going into effect. And one of the deadlines to get the first dose was yesterday.
Gotcha.
So we'll see. San Francisco has a vaccine mandate, which says that for you to go into most private businesses like restaurants, things like that, you have to be vaccinated. And LA may follow suit, but hasn't so far.
Gotcha.
Nice. All right, last question. Friend's wedding too expensive. What up, Stoke Lords? I've got a real hard situation going on right now. So I'm living with my dank SGF, and I'm looking to her to make her my dank fiance. The ring and stuff is going to be pretty expensive. Over the past year, we decided to move into an apartment together, and it is expensive enough that I haven't been able to save up enough for my buddy's vacation wedding. I told him I wasn't going to be able to make the bachelor party trip, somewhere between $400 $500 trip, and that I might make it to his wedding. His wedding trip looks like it's going to cost around $1,000 for just one night. It seems like everything is too much for me right now, especially since I'm trying to get a dank fiance. My boys are mad at me and telling me that I need to make it happen, but I feel like if my dog really cared about his friends making to his wedding, they would have paid for everyone's hotel room at least, or be more understanding that a lot of people in their mid-20s can't swing it. How do I make amends with the homie? Should they be more understanding? Do I suck it up and go for broke with limited PTO days I have left? I've basically been living paycheck to paycheck. I really need money. I feel like I need to start my own life with my dank GF.
That's a really good question. I think a lot of people deal with that situation.
Dude, I don't look. If your friend's having an expensive ass wedding, that's great for him, but he has to understand that part of that is that you are going to lose some guests and some attendees. And honestly, sometimes they plan on that. I know some friends who put their weddings in difficult to get to places and like inexpensive places because they were like, this will weed out a lot of the weed out the guest list a little bit. So I wouldn't feel guilty about it at all, dude. I mean, I just hope you just don't have too much FOMO because there'll be plenty of weddings, and at a certain point, they're all the same. So, although they're super fun, I fucking love weddings, but I wouldn't feel bad at all, man. I think you got your eye on the prize, and I would stay where you're at. Yeah.
I mean, it is frustrating though that so many people do that and have no care about the fact that they're making their thing so expensive. Especially girls do it even more because it's not just the wedding, it's the shower and the bachelorette and everything. I mean, there's like 18.
And they feel a bit
there's
more
like,
pressure.
There's
in the
like
outfits
18
and
parties.
stuff.
How many times do we have to celebrate you?
You're right.
Get in the wedding, and I got to buy you a present for that, and it gets to be very expensive.
Yeah, right on.
How selfish do I sound?
No, you sound like a populist, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like Bernie Sanders over here. Keep going.
I'm writing you in.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
I agree. I think his friends will get over it in time. It's causing him way more stress. I don't think it's worth it in the long run. I think, this is causing you way more stress than it has to, and I think he should just, save his cash, and I think they'll get over it.
Yeah. And yeah, your friend,
RSVP well in advance that you're not coming.
for sure.
Because I had people not show up to mine, and that's fucked up. Because you paid for them already. I would say if you really want to go to this thing, get a credit card. Put it on the credit card. It sucks, but
Or bunk up with a bunch of other people.
You could do that too.
if your GF's down for that. But I don't know. It sounds like he's pretty strapped. I think I would just punt on it, dude. But
also when it comes to engagement rings, look vintage. It's cheaper.
Nice.
That's what I did.
Look at the wisdom you're bringing.
He's our
I've
guru.
done it all. I have a fucking baby.
Wow. And a great ET shirt.
That's Alf, my friend.
Oh, Alf.
That's Alf.
Oh, even better.
Are you single?
Look at this. I am, yeah. No ring here. No ring there either.
No, I'm single as shit. How
How's the dating game going?
it's going all right.
It's going okay.
How's it going for you?
It's been okay. I've been working way too hard lately.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, COVID's been a weird time.
Are you on the apps?
Not really.
No.
Are you? What's your
on the
deal?
apps.
You're on the apps. Are you
Yeah.
single too?
I've been single since April. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm on the apps big time.
How's that going? Do people recognize you from all of this?
Yeah.
Do they think you're real? Do they think that you're a fake account?
Sometimes I get messages like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they do. But then a lot of the dates I've gone on, they're not familiar with like our work at all.
Has anybody sent you a message saying, "Do you really have a small dong?"
No, but I've had girls make remarks, when they see it when they see it for real, they're like, "Oh, nice."
It's bigger than they expected. Right.
Yeah.
You're setting very low expectations.
Yeah,
in that
yeah. You gotta
department.
keep expectations low, and then whatever comes out, they're like, "Oh, that's refreshing."
You are
Right.
setting yourself up for the greatest sexual experience.
Yeah,
Because,
I'm anti Pete. I'm not anti, but the opposite of Pete Davidson.
was that the rumor?
He's got a rep for having a big schlong.
Oh.
Yeah, he talks about that in his special too, about how he sets himself up for disappointment with the ladies.
Yeah. He seems to be doing okay though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Oh,
way outkicked his coverage.
Yeah.
I mean, has anybody more outkicked their coverage in the history of men than Pete Davidson?
He's up there. I heard David Spade does work too.
Oh
but
yeah.
He's pretty aggressive at it.
Oh,
You ever
really?
Yeah, I know lots of people that he's reached out to on Insta
funny.
and
A lot of
other
these-
things. He's a machine. It's a numbers game.
That speaks
just
to-
like California politics.
Are you like? Do you want to get married and have kids and do the whole?
Yeah, eventually. Yeah, I'm not in a huge rush. I mean, thankfully, I think it's easier for guys. They don't have as much of a ticking clock on that.
Do you feel the loneliness? Like, do you get? I feel like you're pretty comfortable, sort of just being single and working.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are moments for everybody. I think I work a lot, which helps on that front. But
Right.
I've been at events where I see people in clearly unhappy relationships, and it
Yeah.
makes me grateful to not be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something great about being able to be with somebody that you love and care about and spend
Yeah.
time with and share with. And I hope to get there.
Weddings are the best for that because couples are always fighting at weddings.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you go to a wedding, every
just
one of your
did that.
friends is in a relationship.
Oh my
is
God.
like-
I was so,
Yeah.
I went to a wedding 2 weeks ago and I was kind of bummed about going single. I was the only single person at the table. And I looked around and everybody was in a fight. And I was
Every
like,
time.
this is so great that I'm not here.
Except my brother and his girlfriend never, but everyone else I know always. Yeah, And I think that's another big like misconception culturally is that at weddings it's like a good place to like meet a girl.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's like never happens. The one time I was at a wedding, there was one single girl I went to hit on her. I had 4 of my single friends right behind me every time I went to talk to her. And then I was like, I'm just going to waste this whole wedding duking it out with these guys.
Right. Yeah. Just better off like hanging out with people you're friends with and getting to catch up with them.
Do you ever do the scouting thing?
What's that?
Like when you're going to like a wedding or something, you just look through who's attending. And then you're like,
Dude, nice.
you're like, okay, there's 6 single girls. Nice. All right. Potential for a
A
match.
game plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that with my siblings. All my siblings have kids, my older siblings, and they'll always be like, you know, I'll be like, hey, are we gonna go travel for the holidays? They're like, I have kids, I can't fly. I'm like, that sucks. I'm going to Hawaii. That's always a good reminder.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we'll all have to hit the bars or something.
Yeah,
together.
let's do it.
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
good place to end it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
hell
man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the invite. Honestly, big fan of what you guys do.
Oh,
I think
thank you.
it's super cool to be able to speak to our generation like this and to both bring humor but also depth and talk about important issues and talk about stupid issues and like have a cool platform for all this. So
Thank
got
you.
great respect for what you do, and thank you for kindness and coming on our show, being supportive of what we're doing, and really grateful that you invited me to come on.
Oh, well, dude, it was so
Thank you.
fun having you on. It was really an illuminating conversation. Yeah.
And let the
serious.
Stokers know
Yeah.
where they can find you and the show.
Okay, so it's Elex Michaelson with an E, not with an A. ELEXMICHAELSON on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube. And the show is The Issue Is, which airs all across the state of California. You can go to theissueisshow.com for more. And then if you live in Los Angeles, I anchor the news every night at 5, 6, 7, and 10 p.m. on Channel 11. foxla.com/live. It streams as well.
Last one. Why'd your parents roll with the E instead of the A?
So they named me for my great-grandmother, Ethel, who had passed away. They took the E to honor her, and so they kind
that's
of made
cool.
it up.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Right on. All right. Well, thanks, man.
Thank you
Yeah.
guys. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, it was
Stoked
fun.
to have you. That was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Chad. Thanks to Elex Michaelson for coming on. That was great.
What a legend.
Yeah, great guy. Not wearing my headphones. I almost put my headphones on, but I never wear them. Chad, who's your beef of the week?
My beef of the week is with Santa Monica.
Oh,
I'm gonna come out and say it, dude. I think it's kind of a bullshit city.
damn, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean it. Here's the thing. Here's my beef. I go to like I do workout classes over there, and the traffic is just horrible. It's so bad, and it's like, it's probably like 6 miles away from me, but I have to, navigation will say like 20 minutes, and then it ends up being like 30 minutes, and I'm just, and there's just so many tourists there, Every time I go there, I'm like, every time I go to Santa Monica, I'm like, what is this city? What is it? Because it's tourists, but there's no character. Venice has some character. It has tourists, but it has some character. When you go to Santa Monica, you're kind of like, this city's like a mall for like, this is like a giant PacSun of a city.
It's
what I mean?
perfectly put.
Yeah.
And all the restaurants, they have no character, personality. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Everything, you're like, there's probably 12 of these.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just wanted to call out and say, Santa Monica, fuck you.
It's funny, too, because when you listen to, like, Sheryl Crow sing, like, and having fun under the Santa Monica sun.
Yeah.
You're like, when you're a kid, you're like, oh, Santa Monica's just got to be this beach paradise. And then you get
Yeah.
there and, like, the beach kind of sucks, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, it's too much sand. Like, it's just a tundra for, like, a couple hundred yards.
Yep.
And there's just no, like, there's no pretty views. There's no texture to it.
Yeah. It's just a lot of kind of, it's just tourist. It's just too
soulless.
touristy. It's soulless, and it doesn't really know what it is. And
Yeah.
and then trying to get to hot yoga there is just a pain in the ass. And I'm trying to find my center and align my chi, but it's hard to do that when you have to sit through bullshit traffic.
Yeah.
So that's my beef.
Aaron, what's your beef?
My beef is with the. Have you guys seen the show, The Movies That Made Us on Netflix? It's like a making of classic movies that we all love.
I haven't watched it, but I've seen the thumbnail for it.
So the editing on that, whoever's directing it, I think I know who it is, but whoever is in charge of the productions demands that the editors basically, like when someone's telling you how they made a movie, they say something and then the editor treats that as though that is a setup for a joke. And then they the answer or the finish of the sentence is a punchline. It's just edited in such a choppy way. It's like they don't let the people just tell the story. Like they have like the producers and the writers and people you've never heard of before who are giving really good information and stuff you didn't know about these movies you love. But they edit it in such a way it's just like, just let the fucking show tell itself. Like let the people tell it themselves rather than your ham-fisted attempt at humor.
Right.
It's like written like a YouTube review show or something. It's just like, oh
No, I can't do it.
Is it sort of like where the host is trying to point out, it's like, this is where you should laugh?
yeah.
And
Oh,
you're-
100%.
And you're like,
but it's in the editing.
You're like, let me figure out where I should laugh.
Yeah, it's not really
Where
even
I
the
wanna
narrator so much, and the narrator is not good either. But it's all in the editing. It's really bizarre.
Yeah.
and it's clearly a mandate. I think they've done 8 episodes in 2 seasons, and it's been the same all through. It's like, oh, it's so frustrating because they have great movies, obviously.
I got to watch that. Yeah.
Yeah,
My beef of the week, I got a couple. One beef with myself. Me and Chad had a big telemeeting, Zoom meeting on Friday. I missed it. We have like new agents. They've been setting us up on these great meetings, and I just totally missed one. Why? Because I was editing, but I wasn't doing anything. I just get a text from Chad, "Hey, are you okay?" I'm like, why is Chad so concerned about me? And then I call him, and he's like, "You missed the meeting." You're really nice about it too. I appreciated it, but that's not cool. My other beef is with just false notes and entertainment. Dude, I'm like, I can't watch anything now. Every time I see something, I'm like, that's fake. That's fake. Not like it's a movie. This is obviously fake, but like with acting especially, or even like TV presenting, whatever it is, I'll just always be like, fake, fake, fake. And I'm so like, my antennas just go up so quick.
Right.
But it makes it so like, I don't like, even now, like, dude, there's all these, when I first got into comedy, I loved comedy podcasts and I'd listen to all the big ones. And what I always loved about them was they sounded so authentic. And now when I listen to them, I'm like, these guys are full of shit. Everything they're saying is full of shit.
Right.
And I can't like listen to anything without having that like cynical voice in my head, which maybe is like right, but it just kind of steals joy from everything.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard for me to find something I like to absorb. And then my final beef, this is the most important one, is with anyone who has the misfortune of being on the other side of me in a paintball game. Went paintballing in Utah with my boys during our fantasy football trip. And look, we caught some flack for being too into paintball last time and for taking too much pride in it. I don't give a shit. I rip at paintball, dude. I when I see someone on the other side, I gotta take them out. And dude, I do.
Nice.
I murk on the paintball course.
Nice.
I annihilate. And do I take it too serious? No. It's simulated war, and it should be treated as such. And I do. I take it serious, and I treat it as such. It is war.
you could get hurt. So
And I do. I hurt other people. Chad, who's your babe of the week?
My babe of the week is Mark McGrath, the self-proclaimed last douche.
Nice.
He an article came out where he's like, I'm the last of the douchey 90s rocker guys. I'm the last of that breed. And he wears it proudly. And I'm psyched on how stoked on his doucheness he is. Just to come out and say, "What up? I'm the last douche." It fires me up, and it fires me up on Mark McGrath, and that just made me think this guy's an absolute legend, and I hope someday to be able to say I'm the last douche.
I hope that for you too. I hope that for you, dude. I hope you get there.
Thanks, man.
Aaron, who's your babe of the week?
my babe of the week is this guy Jose Salazar Jr. He makes their softball jerseys.
Oh, nice.
And this one, it was really tough because I didn't really have I just had a logo I pulled off of Google Images like a long time ago. And it's not even that, like, it's probably scaled too high and it looks kind of janky. He came up with some beautiful jerseys for us. They've got the team's called Pizza Party because I figure why else are men in their 30s gathering to play softball every week? It's to have a pizza party. He put pizzas in the details and the sides and in the sleeve.
Real attention to
edges.
detail.
Yeah. It's so good. And we we settled on that design like a week and a half ago, and we already have them. Like he made me like a hoodie to go with it, and just for fun. Just a sweet guy, and super quality work and super fast. So, I just want to give a shout out to that guy.
Nice.
He's a TNS Creations on Instagram.
My babes of the week, I got 2. So we went on this fantasy football trip, me and like 15 guys. We go on it every year except for last year because of the pandemic, where we draft our fantasy football teams at a location in Park City. Our friend Foursome, he's kind enough to open his home to us, and we have a ball. And every year, there's just some top performers, some guys who the whole weekend just bring it. And this year for me, it was Joe Pellizzone and Luke Connor. Just a couple of killers, dude. Luke was on fire with the jokes the whole time. And then Luke got naked. That's always a great joke. And he was just hilarious the whole time. And then Joe was just dialed with the competition. He ripped at paintball. He ripped at the drinking games. And he was just ripping it up in every aspect. Had a good draft. So a lot of respect to those 2 guys for just bringing it the whole weekend.
Nice.
Chad, who's your legend of the week?
My legend of the week is Fu Quan.
Yeah, man, this was a bummer.
Fu Quan, yeah. My legend of the week is Fu Quan Johnson. I know him as Fu. It's a kind of tragedy struck the LA comedy scene over the weekend. There's an incident involving fentanyl that 4 comics ingested fentanyl-laced cocaine. They didn't know fentanyl was in there, and 3 of them died. And then one is hospitalized, but I think she's doing okay. Kate Quigley. I think she's still recovering, but she's gonna make it.
That's good.
But it's just a horrifying tragedy. And I knew Fu. I didn't know Fu well, but I knew him. He hosted an open mic that I was going to a lot over the past 6 months, and he's just like the sweetest guy, very encouraging of other comics, and just like really hilarious. And he nicknamed me Malibu Breeze, and he was always just so nice to me and just sweet. And I just wanted to, and it's really sad that what happened. I just wanted to give him a shout out and say I miss you, dude. Rest in peace, and also to the rest of the victims. So, thoughts are with their families and all that. So,
yeah, rest in peace, man.
And a speedy recovery to Kate.
Yeah, Kate's great. I recorded her podcast for a couple of years.
Oh, you did?
Weekly.
Yeah.
It may still be on ATC. I'm not sure. But, it's great. She's just great.
Yeah.
She's worked really hard to be more than just the pretty face that she obviously has. More than just the model she looks like, but like to be really funny, and she really is.
Yeah.
And so this I know she's had her troubles, but this sucks.
Yeah. And to the Stokers out there, stay away from cocaine, because
just don't do powders right now.
Yeah,
it's just not safe.
This fentanyl thing is insane, and you just don't know if you're gonna have a laced batch of whatever it is you're taking. It's really scary, and people die.
Now I'm going on my brother's bachelor party trip, and I was like, bro, hey, no one can be doing coke.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
And it's and they're not the only ones. Our another comic, her brother just passed a couple weeks ago, same situation.
Really?
Yeah.
Who?
I'll tell you her name off,
Yeah.
Mike, but it was I don't know. It's really scary. It's really, really scary. Aaron, who's your legend of the week?
My legend of the week is going to surprise some people, knowing anything about me, but it's Derek Jeter, and also Larry Walker, who are going to the Hall of Fame today. I just want to give a shout out to them because they've been waiting 2 years to actually get in and have their ceremony and stuff. Because of COVID, obviously it got canceled a year ago. But obviously one of the best team leaders for sure in baseball history, if not, one of the best shortstops.
I mean,
I think he's a great
captain.
Yeah,
right?
I think he's a great hitter. I do have some problems with his defense. but he's still good. He's still very good.
I agree with you on the defense because he did the jump throw, so everybody thought he was like a great defender. But when you look at the range on how far he's going to grab that ball, it's like a ball that like Vizquel wouldn't have had to dive for. Like he just would have been there anyways.
You know, and the position's super hard, and I get that. I think that particularly the one that irks me is the catch where he runs into the stands. I'm like, oh, he caught that 8 feet from the stands and still ran and dove into the stands. Like,
oh, you thought it was theatrics?
It wasn't even the best one in the game. In that game in particular, Pokey Reese was playing for the Red Sox. He made a play where he was better. Like he was right up against the fence when he made it. Like he was in danger as he caught the ball. Jeter caught it and then flew into the
But
ground.
isn't it that Jeter was bleeding afterwards? Isn't that what makes it so heroic?
And it's just the all-out dive in there. But it's like he could have turned left.
But he's a legend.
He's a legend for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still one of the best hitting shortstops of all time. Do I think he would have won as many Gold Gloves if A-Rod was still at short? Probably not. He didn't win until A-Rod moved to third. But still, great guy as far as I know. I don't know anyone who knows him. But
he's got a pretty clean record.
Yeah, he's got a pretty clean record. We'll see if it all pans out in Florida, where he's the president of baseball operations. But
I would say it's not going to.
It hasn't yet. But they made the playoffs last year. I mean, what the hell? Despite COVID, they did too. So,
but they can win. They can win World Series, and it doesn't move the needle.
That's true. They've won 2. Yeah,
it's incredible.
Yeah.
Wait, what? He's president of what?
The
Florida
Marlins.
Marlins. Or the Miami Marlins.
Oh, you just think there's no hope for that team?
They win a World Series, and then the next year they have no attendance.
Nobody goes to games in Miami. It's
just
interesting.
And they're very up and down. Like they're like the worst team in baseball, and then 3 years later somehow they're like the best team in baseball. But
and then the next year they're the worst team again.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like all peaks and valleys, but for whatever reason they just can't get people to come watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, well, where's your faith in Derek, dude?
Well, and also I don't think he's going to be a good. Yeah, I have faith in him as a player, but I don't have much faith in him as a.
He's not Billy Bean.
Executive. No, I don't think so.
Maybe at the next job when he's given more budget and more opportunity, you know. But right now, I don't think it's great.
And some athletes are great executives, but for the most part, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the guys who are like the best at the sport generally don't translate to the other side of it.
Yeah. And then Larry Walker is the first Canadian baseball player to ever make the Hall of Fame.
Really?
So that's a huge thing because it's not predominantly a baseball country. It's a hockey country first and foremost. But what an amazing guy, amazing
Good hitter.
Won several batting titles when Tony Gwynn wasn't winning them. There was Larry Walker.
Yeah.
And a 5-tool guy, you know, who not built like a 5-tool guy really, but amazing outfielder, defender, thrower.
Yeah.
Base runner, yeah, everything.
That's a good Hall of Fame class. My legend of the week is from the show Succession. It's from the pilot. It's from the opening scene, and it's how yellow they made Brian Cox's piss. What a choice! He's this old, broken emperor, and the opening scene is just him not really cognizant, peeing in like a closet. And you see him peeing, but they don't have any light in there. When they show the urine, it's like the darkest hue of yellow I've ever seen. And so you're just like, oh, this guy's unhealthy. And it's just, it's too yellow. It's not realistically yellow, but what a choice.
Right.
Like whoever was on set was like, make the piss radioactive yellow. And they were like, good call.
Right.
And it's,
Is there a chance it was method?
yeah. And maybe Brian Cox was just like pounding soda for 5 days, no water. And just put himself into that state. I hope that's the case, that it was unsimulated piss. But yeah, just a brilliant choice from great artists to make that urine so yellow.
Nice.
Chad, what's your quote of the week?
My quote of the week comes from Schopenhauer, a philosopher. So the quote is, directly after copulation, the devil's laughter is heard, which I thought was the best philosophical take on post-nut clarity that I've heard.
I laugh every time.
Yeah.
I laugh every time.
Dude, Schopenhauer.
The demon gets out.
Yeah.
The devil.
Yeah.
Is he judging us though in that comment? Like, is he judging that we've had sex most likely out of wedlock?
I think he's talking about this sort of insanity proceeding, the male sort of insanity of like pursuing a sexual encounter regardless of the consequences or whatever. you
Sure,
know?
yeah.
Sure.
Been there.
And then afterwards, you're like, oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm sweet.
And he gets sad sometimes, yeah. Aaron, what's your quote of the week?
My quote of the week is from Derek Jeter. I don't know if you even said this, but I just found it on Google. I love it when people doubt me. It makes me work harder to prove them wrong. I feel the same way on the softball diamond. People take one look at me and go, he's going to do one thing, and I love to steal that extra base on them when they're not looking, and
Nice.
run through a stop sign at third and score just cause.
That just fired me up.
Don't underestimate a fat man who's angry. You know, that's what I'm saying.
I'm going to send you the best Fred Durst gif after this because of that.
Nice.
Nice. My quote of the week is from True Detective Season 2. I have to put a disclaimer on this. This is extremely aggressive and off-putting and crazy imagery.
Much like that season.
Yeah, but I think this is real, pure, vulgar poetry. I think it's one of the... I think, HBO does like really good cursing, like Succession, Deadwood, Sopranos. They're so creative with their like gross flourishes of how people talk shit. But I think of any of them, this is the best one. And I think it might be I think it's the best quote from any movie of all time. And it's Colin Farrell's character, Ray Valcaro. And he's beating up this kid's dad because the kid was bullying his kid. And he's talking shit to the kid. He goes, "If you ever bully or hurt anybody again, I'll come back and butt fuck your father with your mom's headless corpse on this goddamn lawn."
He's also a sheriff's deputy.
What show is this?
How did he
True
write
Detective Season
that?
2.
How did he come up with that?
What show is this?
Nick Pizzolatto. It's True Detective Season 2.
Oh, nice, nice.
I'll come back and butt fuck your father with your mom's headless corpse. I mean, it's a stroke of genius. You got to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
Sorry if that was too much for people. Chad, what's your phrase of the week for getting after it?
My phrase of the week for getting after it is let's plug in the charger.
Aaron?
Is this coming with this episode we recorded today?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go vote.
Yeah, go vote. Ray Valcaro also says, "I used to want to be an astronaut, but astronauts don't even go to the moon anymore," and he gets sad.
True.
Interesting guy. Well played by Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'm sorry. I got to kind of rush. I'm going to get stretched. I'm going to get stretched. I got to stretch. Chad, great stuff.
Great stuff, guys. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Alex. Later.
Boom, bap, boom, bap, boom, bap, boom, bap, boom,
Hand me the screws.
boom, bap, boom, bap, boom, bap, boom, bap, boom, bap,
Guys,
boom, bap, boom, bap, boom, bap, boom, bap, boom,
guys.
boom, bap, 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 boom,
What is your beef of the week? Aaron, who's your beef of the week? Strider, who's your legend of the week? Joe, what's your quote of the week? Chad, what is your beef of the week? Aaron, who's your beef of the week? Strider, who's your legend of the week? Joe, what's your quote of the week? Chad, what is your beef of the week? Aaron, who's your beef of the week? Strider, who's your legend of the week? Joe, what's your quote of the week? Chad, what is your beef of the week? Aaron, who's your beef of the week? Strider, who's your legend of the week? Joe, what's your quote of the week?
boom, bap, boom, bap, boom, bap, boom, bap, boom, bap, boom, bap, boom,